All right, welcome back to Long Island's #1 pro wrestling broadcast. Monty and Afaro, only seen here out of Indie Music TV, straight out of Ronkonkoma. At the board, our producer, Abe. Abe, how are you, my friend?
Doing good. How you doing, brother?
Doing great. And on the other side of the computer is my beautiful co-host, Miss Daniela Petro. How are you?
I'm good. I'm getting ready for a Halloween party. I'm going as a raver.
Really? Nice. First of all, I got to tell you, I do enjoy your weekly outfits. This is kind of becoming a thing. And I forgot to
I
bring
know,
some
and I
liquor to
love
drink.
Halloween. I had to spray tan to get dark. I was like, God damn, I'm wearing no clothing.
Dude, you're into the Halloween thing, huh? What's that all about? What turns you on to Halloween?
I think it's the fantasy of dressing up and being something that you're not. I love that. I love the cluster of it. I just love it.
When you were a little girl, did you dress up a lot? Is that where this comes from, or is it? Yeah.
Yeah, and my mom was really big on homemade costumes. So even with my kids, we don't buy store costumes. We put them together and make them. So.
And you do have a skill with that. You do dress very well. I mean, I've seen you sent me some pictures. I've seen some of your videos. You've got a talent for fashion for sure.
I think it's just that creative side of me. I see something, I get a picture of it, and then someone's get me as close as possible to that, and I do it. And I actually went to the store today to get my Medusa costume, and I tell you, it's gonna be a good one. It's
Man,
gonna
I'm
be
excited.
a good one.
When you're done, just send me some pictures. Very cool stuff. We
Oh,
got
it's gonna be
another
awesome.
great show. We've got the terrific Tom Brandi who's joining us after the commercial break. But I want to get some news out there. News out of the great city of Las Vegas. Teen driver appears to intentionally hit and kill retired police chief in viral video. A laughing teenager appears to deliberately plow a stolen car into a retired police officer in Las Vegas. I don't know if you saw that. They were in the courtroom
I did.
laughing. What are your thoughts?
I saw it on my Instagram feed. I think TMZ had it up, and that's disgusting. One, just the fact of this isn't Grand Theft Auto. We're not getting points for how many bodies can I run off the road? But it's to not know who that person is. One, it's an older gentleman. He's in the bike lane. You guys already just stole a car. It's disgusting. It's so disgusting and sad, and there's not even words for it. The poor family of this man, to go out that way, and then it's all over social media. His demise, how his life ended,
and they had no remorse. You and I were speaking earlier, right? And I said to Danielle, I'll reveal what we were speaking about. I said, man, I feel like I'm really getting old. I'm falling behind. Has life changed? Is this something your age is used to now? Is this the way of life now? We treat human life with no decency? I mean, what's this all about?
Those are children. I am not a child. Those are children. That's and no, what is sad though is that anything, whether it be a confrontation, a celebration, even people how they do their gender reveals. We had a baby shower and that was it. Now it's gender reveals and what's gonna be the biggest showstopper on how I'm gonna show everyone what kind of baby I have. I'm gonna have an alligator bite a balloon. And it's the same thing. I'm committing a crime, which is on camera, and then I'm also gonna commit a murder too. It's the generation is disgusting, and it's not my generation. It's my son's generation. And that's what's scary is the documentation of every little thing. And I'm guilty when it comes down to entertainment. I'm not even gonna lie, and even my personal life. But it's just now, just the acts of violence. It's almost like watching Saw in real life. It's disgusting.
I never asked this of you before or asked you this question. Do you believe in God?
Wow. You know the rules. You're not supposed to talk about religion, politics while you drink.
That's what we're all about, man. Answer to the best of your
um,
ability. Don't answer at all. It's just a question.
I believe there's something bigger. I don't know what, but I definitely wouldn't say I believe in God, but I definitely think there is something bigger than us. That's how I feel.
Okay. I'm just, the reason I ask that is when you commit this horrendous murder or you treat other species, man, animal, beast, right? This way, it, it leads me to believe that you have no fear, which means, and I hate to put it this way, then you don't believe in God because you believe however it ends, you're dead, and you're going to get yours while you're here. You're going to treat people a certain way while you're here. You're going to hurt them while you're here. And
Well,
you have
but
no.
that also, I believe that if anything, another way to look at it is that you should believe in something bigger or grander after we're all said and gone because of look at what kind of evil is surrounding us. I don't feel like this is, I feel like this is hell. And whether you do good in life or not determines on the heaven you get to because you are surrounded by such ugliness and dirtiness and I feel that depending on what kind of person you are throughout your life will determine what your afterlife is. Are you going to be stuck in damnation, which is living on earth and live a long life as you see loved ones long and gone and you're 90 some odd years old and you have nothing to show for it or you're lonely or whatever, like, is this your hell, like, because of the life you lived? So I really look at it that way. Like, I feel that that would show someone that there is something bigger and maybe there is a God because there is such evil out there that you can't have good without evil and you can't have evil without good. So.
Well done. Well done. Woman designs 399-pound pumpkin that looks just like Taylor Swift for a good cause. Are we going Taylor Swift crazy here?
Wait, like, when is the T Swift ever gonna end? Like, now she's dating that what's-him-call-it football player. like the woman has literally went through Hollywood. Like, she's dated every single person, actor, singer, athlete. Like, it's just like, Jesus, it just can't get away from the Swifties.
Could you imagine becoming so famous? I mean, look, you're I call you a social media influencer. You do a really good job, and now you're on the show, of course, which we love having you. You get a little heat for what you do, right? A little bit. What do you think
Yeah.
heat Taylor Swift gets every day from the haters?
I don't think she has to worry about it because she has the Swifties to attack her. When you have a following like she has, you don't need to worry about getting it. A queen doesn't hear the sounds of peasants.
Right.
she has staff to do that. She has her followers to take care of that.
So you say one bad thing about Taylor Swift, you're getting swarmed on and it's over, right?
Oh my God, have you ever seen someone like ever bash? Like, look at how like her fans went for Kanye. Like literally, like you cannot. The Swifties, they'll come in for you. Like they'll come.
Man,
so I think Taylor's good.
We need more Swifties
Like,
on this show.
No, that wrestler, there was a guy from WWE that made a comment about Taylor Swift, and he did a thing on X, and the Swifties went after him. They were like, and she's a cat lady too, so you know their claws are out. Like, so that's what I'm saying. She doesn't even have to worry about even like batting an eye or having a teardrop. She's like, my Swifties will get them. Their day will come.
All right, I want to get to our guests, get through what's coming up. By the way, you've had some really good-looking guests come on. This guy is going to top the list. I know you're possibly seeing a guy now, and he's a very good-looking guy, but I got my money on.
We're talking.
All right, you're on the beginning stages of a possible relationship. Is that fair enough?
relationship is a very strong word, but sure.
Okay. So the gentleman I'll be bringing on may just shake that tree. That's how good looking he is. So, but we'll see. November 11th.
I'm sorry, Joe.
November 11th, if everything works out, you're going to come to New York and you're going to be live in studio as we interview Paul London, Magnum TA, Bad Company, and the Nasty Boys. So we got 4 interviews. So it should be pretty
nice
good.
lineup right there.
If everything works out, we won't get into it, but we got our fingers
Remember what
crossed,
I told
right?
you? Put it into the universe.
That's it. I'm trying.
Put into the universe what we want back.
I'm trying. You're right. I want to thank the band that sings the theme song for Monty and Farrow and Jimmy Farrow, who now is in Florida, as we all know. And Jimmy informed me that he is now enjoying the beautiful life in Florida where you live. He really does love it.
Because why wouldn't you love Florida? Hello.
Yeah, I know. Jimmy, along with his partner Bart Rings, make up the band Wisteria Hall. Wisteria Hall sings such great songs as In My Dreams, This Life, and Not Far Behind. Here Comes the Rain. You can find their music on the Wisteria Hall YouTube page, Spotify, Apple Music, and Reverb Nation. Monty and Farrow could be seen on the Monty and Farrow YouTube page, Facebook Live page. Hear us on iHeartRadio, Spotify, Anchor, or where all audio is found. We're also on Twitch TV, and in New York, we're on channel 115 every Tuesday at 9:30 p.m. and Saturday at 11:30 a.m., and channel 20 Tuesdays at 7 p.m. We're also part of a free app. It's called the Intuitive Network. That's IN2UTIVE Network. I actually think I spelt that wrong because I'm reading it off the wrong prompter. That's right, I read off of prompters. Where Intuitive has dramas, music videos, comedy, everything, and it's free, guys.
And if it's free,
just download. That's it. It's free. That's right. And where are the headlining show on that channel? We'll be right back after this commercial break, where we have the great Tom Brandi joining us.
Okay, let me get prepared for him.
And that should be the commercial break there, Abe. Sir? Manscaped? Have you tried the new equipment that's been sent?
I'm afraid because it says weed whacker. I'm scared.
Maven, Manscaped, what are you thinking about
Love
Manscaped, dude?
Love it.
What do you use it for?
Necessity. What don't I use it for? Put it this way. The only hair I have on my entire body is these eyebrows.
Yeah.
That you see. These caterpillars racing to the middle of my nose. That's it.
That is it.
That's all I have. And that's all I want.
That's the
So Manscaped is a
You-
must.
We were talking before the show. There's nothing worse than just hair.
Yeah.
Right? Hair on a woman, hair on a man. It's just bad.
Absolutely. And it's the one thing that the older I get, it starts growing more in unwanted areas.
Absolutely.
I hate it.
I'm going to ask you a question.
Uh-oh.
Just going to go out there.
Oh, boy.
Go for it.
You're doing a deed.
Yes.
Again, I don't want you to have to admit this because we, as men, we try not to admit this. But if you're going to
Oh,
go
I
do
know
the deed
where-
on a
I
woman,
know where
would you
he's
rather
going.
have her be hairless or a little hair, racing stripe, or
Racing stripe.
full retro bush?
Racing stripe.
Retro Bush is out.
Yes, thank you.
Retro Bush is out.
Yeah.
I don't mind a small, well manicured landing strip. Every now and then, if it's completely, and I'm talking like baby's ass bald, then I start. Where is that pedophilia line? I don't want to
Wow.
wander into that.
That's
thought
very
of it like
interesting.
that.
I never thought about that. You're a
Wow.
smart dude. Holy shit.
So if the landing strip is clean enough for the plane to go in smoothly, you're cool with that?
If the landing strip has, like I said, well manicured,
Yeah,
you can see both sides. It's not
Like blinking lights on both sides of that
I
landing?
just don't. I don't want. I don't want the shrubbery going off into unwanted areas on that. As well.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Oh, look
but-
what you found. Ooh.
I got to be all honest though. Hey, the older I get though, I don't think I can be as
I found it! I found
Have you ever gone down there and she slowly brings down the underwear, then
What is
retro? Just,
Absolutely.
You're like, whoa!
wow?
Yeah,
Like,
I'm
like
46,
it
of
pops
course.
out.
Do you walk out, or what do you do?
No, I muster through. I muster up the courage to get
He's
through.
a trooper. Yeah, he's a trooper. Got to give him an A.
Yeah, not all heroes wear capes.
Yeah,
There you go.
I hear you.
There you
Listen,
go.
I couldn't
Super
say.
Bush.
I couldn't say. Well, if you have the same beliefs as Maven does, Manscaped could help you.
Absolutely.
The weed whacker.
Absolutely.
What are you thinking?
I'm thinking that I may have to, go in a room, close the door, and hang out with the weed whacker for a little while.
Man, I think you're a retro guy, aren't you?
I like 70s adult films, if that's what you're getting at.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
But
only
with that,
Ron
we're going to take a
Jeremy,
quick
Batman.
commercial break, and we'll be
Anyway.
back with this wrestling icon, Maven.
We will see you in a drop kick second.
Drop kick. All right, welcome back to Long Island's #1 pro wrestling broadcast, Monty and the Pharaoh, where we're welcoming our guest, the great Tom Brandi. Tom, thanks for joining us, brother.
Woo!
Thanks for having me, guys. It's been a while. We're trying to put this thing together, right?
You ain't kidding. We were talking before the show started. I didn't realize the Phillies lost until yesterday, and the first thing I thought was you, man. I knew you were pumped for it, and I was like, damn, man. I know how it
The
feels.
town's in a major hangover. Major hangover.
Stop bringing us a good-looking guest. Jesus. There goes
You know,
Joe.
he's wearing a hat
Bye,
too,
Joe.
man. The guy's got a good head of hair too. I'm telling you. Coming off the news that we're reading about, Tom, right? Is the world just getting worse, dude?
Well, I don't try and watch the news, but I saw the shooting in Maine, and I love when they say, "Oh, the killer's still on the loose." Like, where's he? Like, where is he? Is he hiding under his mom's couch or something? It shouldn't be that hard to find the guy. It's ridiculous.
With all of our
Again,
technology.
they're going to find
you
him.
would
It's
think
like
with our
everything
technology-
else. Such a disgrace. It's so sad. Imagine if it's somebody close to home, a friend of a friend or family member. 22 people this guy wipes out for no reason. No reason at all.
Do you think we're more ultra sensitive to this type of thing, being that through social media it's easy to find stuff out? Like, I get it. This type of thing would have been known no matter what, even in the 50s, right? But it just seems like you hear more and more and more of this stuff going on.
Well, you're right. It starts with social media. So, you could hide from stuff if you don't watch the news, but you can't hide from anything anymore. I mean, it all. Just think about the last election. It was just crazy. I don't follow politics, and I couldn't help following it. And then the whole COVID thing. It's just all the things that you'd see everywhere about COVID, like the news and everywhere in between. They had so many people brainwashed. And it was a serious, living condition that we were in, but it just made it worse with social media. Any way you slice it, social media just, blows everything out of proportion.
Yeah, for sure. By the way, this is my co-host, Daniela. Daniela, Mr. Tom Brandi.
I'm your future wife, by the way.
You are.
We're gonna get
I was going to say that. You beat me to it. So
We're gonna
you
get
never
married,
told me
and
you-
right now, this is
you
one
never
of my
told me about your
costumes.
co-host.
I wanted to surprise you. So I had a co-host.
did.
His name was Jimmy Farrow. He's been with the show a very long time. He's actually
I'm
co-creator.
Jimmy.
Jimmy, you remember Wahoo McDaniel, right?
Of course.
Jimmy started a relationship with Wahoo's widow, and he moved to Florida, and they're having a beautiful relationship together. And
You
picked
can
up-
move to Florida
Wow,
with
that's-
me.
You're kidding because I have her on Facebook now that you mention it. And I never put two and two together, to be honest with you. Is that something new or it's been going on?
Started probably late July, and then he moved, I think, August or maybe early September. And he just
So
picked
he
up.
can't
Sounds
do
like
the
a
show
tea
from Florida?
party.
What's that, Tom?
He can't do the show from Florida?
Well, then I said, all right, well, he could do the show from Florida, but then I could ask this young lady to do a show with me. And I said, you know what? I think I'll go with this young lady.
Daniela, are you where do you live in Florida?
I live in Tampa.
Does he live near you?
No, he's about, what did I say? It was about 4 or 6 hours drive, Mike? I think it was about 4 or 6 hour drives.
About.
What's he, south of
I live in
Miami?
the better part of it.
He's in
I'm
Panama
only-
City, so he's at the top of Florida, I believe.
Yeah, he's above me. I'm low.
Okay. Okay. I got you. Yeah, because I got to know Florida. We come down to Tampa every March for spring training, so I know the whole Tampa and Clearwater area real
So he's
good.
going to be visiting me soon.
In March.
I know, you're going to come and
Right.
stay with me. You're my future husband.
Jesus Christ.
Exactly.
We've already established this. He already warned me. He's like, we have a good-looking guest. I know you're going to fall in love. And I'm like, well, there goes the guy I started talking to. Screw him.
That's why you're wearing a pink outfit. That's why I thought you were wearing a pink
That's why-
outfit.
That's why I'm wearing the pink. I got pink everything on, even my sneakers.
There you go. I need a good valet.
Uh-oh.
I kind of
Look
look
at
like, let's get physical.
That works.
Olivia Newton-John.
So I told you, Brandy, this would be a good idea coming on this show.
I know. We should have moved it up a couple weeks.
You would have missed a Philly game for this.
I know.
Well, I'm
I
from
know it.
Wilkes-Barre, Scranton, Pennsylvania, so I'm a
Now
Phillies girl.
it would have been worth it.
Wow. All right, let's roll.
Let's roll, Daddy. Now I'm like all flustered again. But we gotta make sure that nothing falls out too. Like, this thing is hanging on by dear life.
We'll let you know. Don't worry.
Yeah, he'll put the
Are
alarm
you let
up.
me
We'll
know
go like
before
this.
it happens or after the fact that it happened?
After.
All right, Tom. So I need to know, how long have you been in wrestling?
So I just told Mike. I just said, I just had my 38-year anniversary.
Wow.
And what's crazy is, like, that's a lot of years. Like, it just blows you away when you really think about how many years. And, now I'm at the point, like, I'm in the locker room with guys that I've wrestled way longer than they've even been alive. And it's kind of funny, but it's like, as I mentioned, we all could write a book. We all could tell us our story, because nobody else is going down that same road. It's just like one of those amazing stories that you wish you could share with people, but they kind of had to be there. In a lot of ways, they kind of had to, see it through your eyes.
You've been in wrestling 2 years longer than I've been on this earth.
There you go. That's what I'm saying.
That's amazing.
That's
It
what
is
I'm saying. Like,
it's
I'm
a
in the
bigger
locker
picture
room.
to look at. What made you
What's that?
get into wrestling? What made
It's
you get
always
into
been my
wrestling?
love since I was 5 years old. So, like, it was one where, like, I never even wavered. Like, I knew when I was a kid and I was, like, wrestling my brother in front of the TV on Saturday afternoons, I just always just wanted to be a wrestler. Like, it was nothing that I second guessed. It was nothing that I ever grew out of. And, like, through high school and certain things, you didn't know, like, how to get into it or when it would start, but I wanted to be a wrestler. Right away, you join a gym, you start working out, you try and, like, you're trying to look good and everything, and you're trying to do the right things, but you don't know what, you don't know what the world has in store for you. You don't know, like, how far you're going to get, if you're going to get anywhere at all. So I've been very fortunate and happy with, the opportunities. Like, everybody could have always done better. Like, yeah, you could say that about regular professions too. You could have had a lot of success in your profession and still say, oh, I still wish I could have done this a little bit more, or accomplished a little bit more. In wrestling, it's like, did a little bit more. And then you realize, like, all the guys that don't even get the chance that you got, and you're like, kind of happy with it to a certain degree.
I did all right,
So,
right?
Now,
You're like a more, half glass full guy? Like, hey, you know what? I did okay for myself, instead of I wish I would have gotten more.
Yeah, well, you know what it is? It's I was fortunate. I wrestled for every major promotion, including Japan. Had contracts, not just like, like those developmental contracts. Nothing like that. I had real contracts in all the major companies. It never had to do with nepotism. Never had to do with, because my time in WCW and WWF were dealing with a lot of nepotism. Guys like, Bill Watts was in charge, and he was focused on getting his kid over, and Dustin Rhodes and stuff like that. So, there was a lot going around nepotism-wise. And you say, you know what? I'm a kid from suburbs of Pennsylvania that always wanted to be a professional wrestler and make a dream come true. So, you wrestle in the middle, you wrestle in Madison Square Garden in a sold-out either house show or pay-per-view regardless. I think you could say you made it. You know what I mean? I think that's the crowning moment in a lot of people's careers. Not to mention everything else. That's just one. That's the Mecca. I grew up, we would go to the Philadelphia Spectrum every month, but the Garden was the Mecca. Mm. The Garden was the place, that was Vince's, always his number one building forever. So
you talked about that. You always wanted to do this since you were growing up. I'm pretty sure that most parents out there aren't like, I hope my son grows up to be a pro wrestler. How do you approach your parents and say, hey, Mom and Dad, I think I'm going to become a pro wrestler?
Well, my dad loved it. My dad was there for the ride when we were going to wrestling. He took me to wrestling like my early teens, I probably started going around 10. We started at the Philadelphia Arena, Philadelphia Spectrum, made our way to Allentown and Hamburg where they did the TV tapings, and then the Garden once in a while. And my mom hated it because she didn't want to see me get hurt, like what all moms typically would. And my dad loved it. He loved every bit of it. I grew up, Bruno Sammartino, being a full-blooded Italian, was my idol, hands down. Not to be, there was no second person after him. It was him. He was my dad's favorite, which made him my favorite, which, something that, as a kid, he was your idol. We all need idols. We all need people to look up to and say, I want to be him someday. And that's exactly the way it worked.
Now, when you're in the industry, starting off, coming into it, you have to have, the right name. Chippendale Tom Brandi is did you come up with that? Or, how did that go about?
No, so, all the names I think were pretty much, all the names pretty much were given to me. So, we worked.
Don't get me wrong, Chippendale suits you. Going by your picture, Chippendale hit the nail right on the head. I'm just saying.
Yeah, 38 years ago, right?
Off the tongue.
38 years ago, for sure. No, we worked for a promotion at the time. They did a semi steady schedule, ICW in the northern states. Mario Savoldi. Mike, I'm sure you know who they are, right?
Yep.
And they gave us the most work in probably my first few years. So it just came out one day on TV, probably. That's probably how it started. Tom, Mr. Chippendale Brandi, and went from there. And each promotion pretty much gave me their own name. Each promotion pretty much, Johnny Gunn was WCW and Salvatore Sincere was WWF. So, yeah, they pretty much, will recreate you or, do whatever they want to do and make things a little bit different than what you did before. So.
For Halloween, you would have been an awesome Patrick Swayze, Chris Farley reenactment of the Chippendale.
I know. It was something where it was it was tough because, I was fine doing the character. It's just going into, it was pre-ECW and all that other stuff. Because they're the kind of fans that would eat that up. They would chew that. They would destroy that. And unless you were a heel. But I was a babyface. So it was one of those things where it worked for the time being. I went to my first break was in Memphis. So I went to Memphis in around 88 for Jerry Lawler as Tom Chippendale Brandi. I remember I still have all the promos and stuff I cut, like with Lance Russell and on live TV and everything. But yeah, the whole time I was there, I was a baby face as Chippendale, and it was good. I mean, those fans loved it. They weren't the blood seekers like ECW fans. They were just Southern fans that just love wrestling. Great place
If I would
to
have
learn.
came to that show, if I would have came to that show as a fan, hearing that name, I would have been so excited. Like, what kind of show are we getting?
It was good
Please,
though.
pray to God.
Like I said, it worked for the time and place. It worked for back then. It was good for what it was worth, and then is something where you bring the little Chippendale act into the scene, and then it was even better as a heel. Like I mixed in a little bit of heel in certain shows, so as a heel, it's can't miss. But I was mostly babyface. That was the thing. I was pretty much 99% babyface on all those shows back then.
I'm a sucker for a baby face. I ain't gonna knock it. I will tell you though,
So yeah,
you age like a fine wine.
I'm
Going
old.
by those pictures that they posted, you look so
I'm
damn
old.
good. Jesus.
If
Your
you're old,
wrestling career
if you're
is older
old,
than
forget
me, you
about it.
still
I'm
look
old.
good.
No, but you know
He's
what?
in
Like,
his feelings today. He's feeling his age. We were having our talk about it.
Wow, thanks for sharing, Daniela. Appreciate
I'm
it.
just saying. He's talking
Mike,
about
how
our
old are you?
generation,
How old
what
are you,
they
Mike?
put out there.
I think what are you, 56, Tom?
7.
All right, so I'm probably like 6 months younger than you. And
There you
and
go.
here's the problem, though. You look like you're 40. I look like I'm 72. So that's the real issue here. You know what I mean?
You know what? People ask me all the time about wrestling, and I said, I feel like obviously that part you can't control. I would be lost. Like, I mean, my mindset has never changed. So like, you still go to the gym most days of the week, and I'm still
Were
wrestling
you
probably about
single
4
back
times a
then?
month.
Oh my God. I love when they
And-
put pictures of you guys. You guys are gorgeous. Look at you. Like wash.
I feel
you,
like
okay. You
I
could.
feel like
I hope you weren't single back then, because honestly, that would have been a damn crime to share you with anyone else.
that was the fun about being single, like being a pro wrestler and being single.
Oh,
That was the fun of it.
that's the trouble. That's where you get into trouble.
You know, Tom,
I know.
Rockstar.
I've shown her about 80 pictures of me, and not once did she say, "Were you single back then?" She could have cared less.
Also, I'm not trying to get a phone call from his wife. I am the wife on the show. She is the real wife. We gotta respect
There you
her.
Too funny.
Yeah, but I feel like staying active in the business, people say, like, they'll ask me, like, how long you going to do it for? I said, I've had the same motto now for a while. It's like, it'll be over one day, but that day's not today.
Yeah.
So, I feel like if I could stay active a little bit, not go crazy, still, I feel good when I get in the ring. That makes, you're in there, you take a couple bumps, and it feels like your weekly adjustment. It really does. Like, I feel worse if I go a couple months without having a match. I feel terrible. If I wrestle once a week, I feel great. So figure that out. Figure that out to what it is. And, you go to the gym, 4 times a week or whatever. And you try and not let your body age. Or you try and just like stay on top of things if you can control it. How much can you control?
So,
Who knows?
You've been around, right? Now you've seen the industry change. When you go in today's locker room, do they treat you with the respect that you deserve, or is it totally different
absolutely. That's the thing about wrestling, that it's never changed from day one. Now, don't get me wrong. It's, you're not, you don't know where every kid is trained, or you don't know where every kid comes from, but 99% of the time, you're going to get that respect. And that's what I love about it. Like, I gave the respect when I was their age, and I'm getting respect now. And it's one of those unwritten rules. So I'm just glad that unwritten rule is still part of the business, because again, if a kid doesn't come up to you, it's more because he's like embarrassed or he's nervous or something, not because he's being disrespectful, because he feels like he's bothering you. So it goes both ways. But yeah, that's kind of like what I see. But yeah, but the guys are very respectful still.
It's good to hear.
I really don't see any
Better be.
kids.
You paved the way.
Well, you know what else?
You made it.
You know what? I can never get mad at a kid, like either in the ring or in the locker room. If he's doing the wrong thing, or like say he's like green in the ring, it's not his fault. Like I can't get mad at that. We were all in that position one day. It's the ones that, and this is very rare, it's the ones that might have an ego or an attitude and they think they're like too good or better than the next guy or better than the rest of the locker room. They're going to get, they're going to stick out like a sore thumb, but you don't see it much. I can't even bring anybody to mind right now that really reminds me of that. It's just like if a kid doesn't shake my hand or acknowledge me or like is kind of dangerous or sloppy in the ring, it's only because he wasn't trained right. So I mean I can't get mad at the kid for that.
Mm. So
I just let it go. I mean, I just let it go. I let it go. I don't get caught up in it.
Tom, tell me when you get your first big break, right? You get WCW. That's a pretty big deal, and you're pretty new to the industry, right? You're like 5 years in, I think, if I have my timing right.
No. I was. Wait, let me think. So that was so. Let's see, 85, 90, 92. Yeah, I mean,
5, 7,
7-ish. It seemed like it was long, but no. The first break was Memphis. That was around 87, 88. So that was a full-time territory.
Born.
We wrestled 6 days a week in Memphis. So like I went there, I still had to get better. Like I still had to that steady wrestling every day is the only way to make yourself better. Because I didn't really come out of a wrestling school. The kids now, they go to wrestling school and they're well-tuned, well-trained after, I should say fine-tuned after a couple months of just nonstop repetition. I never had that. When I trained, we were like in the backyard on mattresses and dirt and grass. The kids now have wrestling schools that are, again, they do all the drills and more drills. And that just makes them better at a quicker rate. The difference for me was supply and demand. So because there wasn't any schools back then, I got on all the shows. Like there wasn't a whole lot of new talent. It was a lot of older, like kind of stagnant guys that had been around. Not a very big group of younger guys getting into it. So like I was on all the shows because I was like the younger guy, which was great. Now, if you come out of a wrestling school, you're competing with the other 20 kids in your school or whatever. So it's different now. So it's a whole lot different. But yeah, like the first break was after Memphis, I went home, and then I got Puerto Rico was 92, which led to WCW September 92.
So they team you with, now check this out, Daniel. Wait till they put this picture up. They team you with Tom Zank, right? Two really good looking guys. I've heard you on other interviews with about Zank. What was your relationship with Tom?
Tom was the best. He was the best. The only thing, what a talent. He was such a natural talent. Like he could never have a bad match. Great worker. Like I love being with him because like we look similar builds, and I can only get better being with him. And we had great, we wrestled Pillman in Austin, and I just saw there's one YouTube video. It was against Vader and Orndorff. And I had forgotten about it for a minute. I hadn't seen it. And then I saw it about a year ago, I guess. And I'm like marking out. Like I was excited because I kind of hate watching myself. But that one there I loved. I loved it. It was so much fun because I really didn't remember a lot of the match. And once I watched it, I'm like, I was impressed with just how they treated us and how the match went and everything. But Tom Zenk was great. He was a phenomenal talent. Tom was just in a bad time when I got there. Like, he was bitter. He was tired of getting jerked around. He was tired of the nepotism. I went in there with an open mind where I really was excited. That was my first big break. I was so excited. But he was a downer being around him. He was so negative, and he hated the company. He hated Dusty Rhodes. He hated Dustin Rhodes. He hated all the guys that were hated Bill Watts. He hated Eric Watts. He hated anybody that got a push that they didn't deserve. And, you know, this is after he was already, you know, multiple-time tag team champ and multiple-time everything. You know what I mean? He was there for quite a while before I got there. And, you know, he made a lot of money in that company. He made a lot of money in that company when they were giving out guarantees and you're sitting at home collecting a paycheck. But, yeah, Tom was great. I just felt bad that, you know, his life, the direction it went, and, you know, never got married, or, you know, when he finally left there, he just went home and he pretty much just lived in his parents' basement in Minnesota until he died.
Well, that's a question I have for you. What eventually led to his demise?
Just bitterness. I feel so bad because he was such an asset. Like, he didn't want to do conventions. He didn't want to do appearances. He didn't want to do indies. He just would just – I didn't talk to him much after he moved back home, maybe a couple times, because I was busy. Like, I used that as a springboard, and I was so busy. Like, I was booked in All Japan because he burned the bridge there. So they wanted a guy to team with Johnny Ace because Tom was his partner, and Tom burned the bridge there. They were never going to bring him back. So they're like, let's bring in Johnny Gunn. It's the next best thing, I guess. So I got a ton of work after leaving WCW before I got hired by WWF. And he just kind of like disappeared into his parents' basement and was never seen or heard from again, which is – it's a heartbreaker because he was such a talent, man. I still like it. If a video comes up, and I do have to send Danielle. I got to send her. They did a vignette for us. She would absolutely love. It was a sharp dressed man vignette, and they took us to a suit, like a tailor, like a suit, you know, suit store, and they hired like 5 strippers from the Gold Club. Dallas Page's wife was a shot girl at the Cheetah Club in Atlanta. So she went out and they've hired 5 girls to be in the video. So Danielle, I gotta send this to you. You'll love it. You will love it.
Please do.
I love it. I still watch it. I still show people because it's one of my favorite things we ever did.
Getting tailored, now you have, I could already tell with just even that t-shirt on, you had an incredible physique then and now. I always ask this question. Back then, it was always rumored people use enhancements. Were you part of that trend? Because, I mean, you were a Greek god from what I was looking at. And
you know what's funny? I feel like I never got involved. Like, you saw, if you could just see, like, you would know the guys that were, like, heavy into the steroids and everything compared to not. And, like, I've kept my same build since I was, like, 1986. And I look back now and you say, you know, if I took steroids, would I have gotten a better push or something? Well, that's all water under the bridge now. I chose not to. I was always a big kid. I was always I thought that I had a pretty good presence and a decent look. And I just saw so many negatives that came from guys that were on steroids, including death. I just didn't go down that road. And my trainer, the guy that broke me into the business, King Kalua, you know, we were when we joined the gym together, when I met him back in like 84, we belonged to a clean gym. We belonged to, like, you know, guys, because there was another gym across town where everybody was on heavy steroids. And back then it was all like the untested stuff, like animal drugs, horse drugs. And a guy died there. And I was glad the road that I took, because, again, I could show you pictures from now compared to 20 or 30 years ago, I always felt like I was in shape. I'm glad about that because it's easy not to be in shape. It's easy to add weight and get fat, and that's what you didn't want to ever happen. So,
well, no, but if you even
That'd be
look
me.
at a lot of them who you kind of are like, were they juicing? You can see the whole change as you get older that like you have a consistent build. And I mean, granted, this is going by a t-shirt that you're wearing and we're seeing shirtless pictures from 20 years ago, but you still have that same consistent build. Unlike, I don't know, but like someone like Cena or Rock, where it's like they were so jacked when they were on TV, but then I look at them now, I'm like,
I say it all the time,
and
Rock.
frail, like.
Well, what it is like when you see Rock, he had we wrestled each other at least 40 times when we were there together because I was the heel. He was the young upstart that just needed ring time, so they put him with heels that could just lead him along and make him feel comfortable. So that was like for me. I was his first match, and then we wrestled for a while, and then he moved on to like Al Snow. And then, so, because they wanted him with, guys that have been around just to make him feel comfortable and get it, just experience. I mean, he was a can't miss. But the thing that is funny about Rock, he's never, like when you hear about all these other guys, he's the one guy that's kind of skated through his whole career and nobody's ever talked about steroids. Here's a guy that's never gotten off. And you could just see it. Like, you look at him, it's not normal. And you got to be like, blind not to realize it. He had good size in WWF, but as he was getting his push, and then when he got into movies, oh my God. Again, a blind man can see, and that picture's early on.
Right.
He only got more ripped and bigger and bigger and bigger. And like I said, you don't look that way from just working out. You work out, and even if you're really, really religiously working out, your body only gets so big. Your body only is going to get so cut.
Okay,
Your
well then
body's
look
only
at Cena. Cena looks tiny compared to how he used to look. Like he looks like skinny and like petite, and I'm like, dude, that guy used to be like monstrous. Like,
yeah, and you know what? Again, it is what it is. I think most people.
Saying, giving you kudos that's good because you have that same consistent physique even with the age and the time that you're saying you didn't use it. That's good because honestly, comparison now, 20 some odd years, you still look good. You haven't shrunk. You haven't gotten big. You have a nice consistent frame because you didn't tap into something that back then you're saying was.
I appreciate that. I appreciate it. And again, there's not many things that you second guess. Or I wouldn't even call it a regret. It's just say to yourself, like, there were guys that were juicing pretty heavy, but it didn't give them a better push. So I think I looked at that and I'm like, you know what? There's no guarantees. There's young guys, guys that are really trying to get to the next level, and they were definitely juicing, but they didn't get a push because they looked better. And I kind of went that route. I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing. I think I look pretty good. I'll just stay with what I'm doing. And that's it.
And dude, you were a big guy. Like I was watching some videos against Wyndham. Wyndham was a tall guy. I mean, you were, or you.
Yeah, well, that's what I felt like. I felt like I had enough size. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like if Vince came to me and he said, "Hey Tom, put on 20 pounds and we'll make you Intercontinental Champ," then I'm going to do it.
Right.
I'm going to do it. But that never happened, so I never did it. So, I mean, again, it is what it is. Everybody makes their own choices in life, whether it's wrestling or anything in general. And you go down, you pick your road. You pick your road that you want to travel, and you hope you make the right decision.
But you brought that up with Vince, right? Vince was a body guy. You are a body guy. I want to say this correctly. Why do you think you didn't reach your full potential in the WWE?
Well, they completely control that. And I'll tell you a story that I tell anytime I do an interview because it's vital to the whole situation, storyline. So back, it was like May of 96 when I was finally hired. get the call from Bruce Pritchard, make the arrangements to go to Stanford to sign your contract. Finally, my dream came true. Finally, I'm going to get to show the world. At this time, I'm 26 years old, and I'm ready to just go wild. I had more than enough experience. By that time, I was probably 9 years in and beyond ready to go, beyond ready. So the day before I leave for Stanford, my friend calls me. He gets Dave Meltzer's kayfabe sheets. He goes, "Hey, you made Meltzer's sheet, but you're not going to like what it said." I said, "Well, what did it say?" Because, I'm used to it. Meltzer's just criticizing people. Nothing I haven't heard or I wouldn't be surprised. So he was reading it word for word. He said, WWF has hired, because they were starting another set of house shows, like B house shows or whatever. They needed more talent, veteran guys. Have hired Tom Brandi, Tracy Smothers, Alex Porto, Tony Anthony, and Bill Irwin to just above jobber status. So I said, talk about a kick in the teeth. I said, I waited my whole life to get an honest shot, to get hired, first of all, but to get, let me go there and give me a chance. And I'm already being labeled before I even, go and sign my contract. And, Meltzer's getting it from somebody. It wasn't like Meltzer made it up. So, he's getting it from Bruce Pritchard or whomever was his leak, whoever gave him information. And I'm saying, you got to be god darn. I said, this is I've been waiting my whole life, and you're gonna go and tag me and label me before I ever wrestle a match. So we go there. Everything's great. You sign your contract. You meet the other guys. You can't wait to get started. And you're going to be on TV the following week. That's way before NXT and all that other stuff. They didn't even have a training center at the time. So you go there the next week. You're starting TV. So, it was a few weeks, because they sent me to a seamstress in New York City to give me my outfit. I got measured for an outfit. The hat, the jacket, the tights, the boots, everything. Some guys, like Alex Porto, they just gave him a singlet. Tony Anthony, they tell him to wear, dress up like a plumber with a plunger. Bill Irwin was the worst rib of all of them. They made him wrestle in these freaking wrestling boots that were shaped like ice skates, and they came to a V at the bottom, and this guy had to freaking wrestle with these sorry-ass wrestling boots that came to a V, like a pair of ice skates. And then you had Freddie Joe Floyd was a rib. They came up with his name was a rib. It was the Briscoes' middle name. That was their middle names. It was Freddie Joe and Floyd, and that was Freddie Joe Floyd. I said, Tracy Smothers was one of the most respected wrestlers in the business. And they hired him because he was one of Jim Cornette's guys. A great, again, they used the term great hand. It's always used in wrestling. He's a good hand. He's a great hand. He's a good hand. It's a very commonly used term in wrestling. We were all good hands. So you come in and you're already labeled. Now, when you get back to your question, Mike, you're in there hoping for the best. What I can say is I had way more opportunity than the other four, and I was the only one to move on to a real contract after the first contract was over. So I was very fortunate. They saw enough in my matches to where my first big match was I was undefeated against The Undertaker on live Monday Night Raw. And remember like it was yesterday. I walked into the building. Kevin Kelly, who was a good friend of mine, the announcer, he goes, big one tonight, big one tonight. I'm thinking what do you mean? What are you not telling me? He goes, you and Taker over 2 live segments, meaning 2 commercial breaks, 15 minutes. I'm like, Jesus Christ, that's a freaking eternity.
That is a long time.
That is an eternity in live wrestling. Eternity. I said, well, you know what? I'm going to bring it because this is my chance to prove myself. They wouldn't be putting me in this match if I'm going to F everything up against Taker, who's the top guy in the company. They trust me. more than they, again, we're screwing shit up. There's nothing they could do if it's live TV. And I could say, it was a great match. I still could watch that match 100 more times and still love it because it's everything he wanted to do. I put stuff in. I was comfortable. I stayed in character. I mean, I'm sitting there at the time, the Macarena. Danielle, you remember the Macarena? Was
One like a
it was the most popular, all this shit, right? It was the most popular song at the time. So I would involve it in my matches whenever I could. I'm on live television beating the shit out of The Undertaker. He's selling, and I go into the Macarena, the whole deal. And it's like, if I wasn't comfortable, I don't know what I was. I was out of my mind is
I'm
probably what
about
I
to
was.
Google that video when we're done.
It's on there. It's on there. I love it. I still love that match. But yeah, so after that was Shawn Michaels. He was the world champ at the time, and Jose Lothario was his manager. Same thing. They gave me everything in the match, Northern Light suplex, everything under the sun. And I was like, this stuff doesn't happen if they don't trust you. The other guys didn't get this chance.
And
None of the other guys got
think about the names you mentioned, too, that didn't make the second round. Those are some big names in wrestling, so it's pretty impressive what you did.
They're respected names, Mike. They're respected.
Absolutely. Quick question.
Freddie Joe Floyd. There's not a person in this world with anything bad to say about Tracy Smothers.
Nope.
And Alex Porto could go with the best of them. Bill Irwin, I felt bad because he was in his heyday, like with the Long Riders and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
This whole gimmick in WWF was a rib. This hockey goon, and they put him in these stupid, wrestling boots that were shaped like, like hockey skates. And then Tony Anthony, they didn't give him a chance to shine with that gimmick. I mean, he was kind of like just a 70s heel there. He wasn't able to do anything with that plunger, the plumber gimmick. They were just extra hands. I was happy. They gave me a sweet outfit. They gave me sweet colors. They gave me, and the only regret, I wish they kept me heel longer because the longer you went, as soon as my music hit, you know how you see it on, still to this day, people's music hit and crowd reacts. And it was getting over. The whole heel thing was getting over, even though there were mostly losses. I controlled the match. I got all my shit in. And as a heel, that's how you get over.
Yeah.
Can
I ask you, how did Shawn treat you? We hear a lot of really poor stories about him. How did he treat you in your time in the WWE?
Well, it was kind of like in school when you have the cool kids and you're not one of them. So him and Triple H and China, like when you got them by themselves, China was a sweetheart. Triple H was cool enough until he started to get persuaded. And then Shawn was always like, yeah, one-on-one, hi and goodbye and whatever else. Shawn knows Shawn was never a tough guy. Shawn's never a guy that's going to beat anybody up in a fight. Whether you're an enhancement guy, whether you're a world champ, or whether you're 20 years older than him, you're still going to beat the shit out of him. Shawn knew that. Shawn would never, like Bret Hart would have he did kill him. I mean, I was there the night they broke him up in the locker room. They got in a fight. Bret beat the shit out of him. But no, it's Shawn. When we wrestled, it was funny because I was nervous because I couldn't find him. So I was looking for him. The match was coming up. I mean, it was probably only had maybe like 20 or 30 minutes before our match. And I'm like shitting my pants. I'm like, where the freak is he? He obviously didn't give a shit. He was going to go in there and just do whatever. So I finally got with him, finally gave him everything. And then I had everything planned out in my head. He was fine with it. He just went with the flow. Like I had the whole match in my head, meaning his stuff and my stuff. And he was very like, it's funny, like he was kind of uninterested. So I kind of made him interested. So like we're in the match and I have a real heavy chop. I chopped the shit out of him. Right. And I didn't care. It's like, this is what you're supposed to do. If you have a problem with it, get another hobby, get another hobby, get another profession. So like the whole key about being a good wrestler, lay it in where you're supposed to lay it in and be safe where you're supposed to be. It's supposed to be safe. So boom, chop the shit out of him, come back, set him up, something, Northern Lights suplex, right? He had no clue. I think he shit his pants, right? Jose Lothario was his manager. At the end of the match, the whole deal. So his progression of like the elbow off the top, the super kick, whatever, hit all those moves one after the other. Perfect. Everything was perfect. But at least he knew who he was in there with. And I was so happy to, and he came up to me afterwards. I know I gained his respect because he couldn't come up to me fast enough. The big hug. Never gave me the time of day before that. But once we wrestled, I gained his respect.
Good story, man. Good story.
Little prima donna, he was sounded like.
Yeah, but he was a champ, and he was pushed, and he was loved, and he couldn't do no wrong, which it was what it was. But again, Mike, to answer your question,
I know those signs too.
Yeah, exactly. Mike, getting back to your first question, that's where it went. So they control all that. I still think because we had that label to start with, I did everything I could possibly do to get as far as I could possibly get. And then when they turned me babyface, that was the kiss of death. Because after I got done with the couple months with Mero, which was great, then you fall into that trap of we don't have anything for you. So they start jobbing you, and that's when I gave them my notice. I said, now it's personal because now you're using my real name.
Right.
Sal Sincere was a fictional character. Do whatever you want. When they turn me babyface and I'm Tom Brandi and I'm going to start losing, no. That's over. It's over because I had too much value in the open market, like as a free agent with the independents and everything. You're not going to job me out on national TV as myself, as a babyface, then you're worthless.
Good for you.
So I turned my notice in a few months later, and that was it. I mean, altogether, I got probably 4. I got 4 years out of it because there was a long stretches of time where they pay you when you're not wrestling. So you just sit home and take the money.
So Tom, that's a gutsy move though, because I'm assuming you made pretty decent, scratch working for them. So you stepping away, weren't you in fear of like, oh man?
No, it was time, Mike. It was time. You know why? Because that's when the Attitude Era was red hot. The indies were on fire. My first month on the indies as a free agent, I had 16 dates. I still have everything. I keep the desk calendars from all the years. You write everything down. My first month on the indies, I had 16 bookings my first month. And that was the month of August. And in the next month, I had like 12. And it stayed 12 and 10s and 12s and 12s. And that's why I knew that it was time to go. It was time to leave there. They weren't doing anything with me anymore. Babyface was the kiss of death. And they had no plans. I wasn't going to keep showing up at TV and just keep getting beat. It was not going to happen. Wasn't going to happen. It was time.
You had a very famous moment with Mark Mero. What how do I want to say? Who calls you out? Who came up with that?
They do. They just pull shit out of their ass. So like the whole like jabroni, the whole jabroni thing. They probably came up with that 10 minutes before the show. At the time, it was like Vince Russo, and he was trying to be cutting edge. He was trying to expose the business. Again, remember, we're on the Monday Night Wars. This is blood and guts time now. This is go for the jugular time now. So you're trying to pull shit out where you're trying to get reactions on social media and say, oh my God, they use the word jabroni on TV. Oh my God, they're exposing the business. Oh my God, I can't believe it. So yeah, they would every week they would try and one up something else hadn't been done. And it turned me babyface, and then I got a good 3 months run with Mark Mero and Sable, which was great because to this day that's what everybody remembers.
I'll say it's one of your most famous moments.
Yeah, and it was fun because I got to back back to being a baby face, and he had just turned heel. So I was a baby face my whole life. He was new at being heel, so it was fun. It was so much fun because we had really good matches, and the problem was they moved him on to an angle with Luna and Goldust, and then they had nothing for me. So that was the beginning of the end, and I just didn't want to. Again, I probably stayed another 6 months or whatever it was, but then writing was on the wall, and every time like I tried to quit, Bruce Pritchard's like, no, hang in there, and it was only a couple of times, but still, it was like have patience. But then when you talk to other guys, they're telling the other guys that too. Guys that were like wanted out of there. They're saying, be patient because the key back then, they didn't want to lose you to WCW because everybody that was available was signed to one company or the other. Every free agent was worth something. They just wanted you under contract so the other company couldn't get you. So that's pretty much. But yeah, with Mero, Sable.
I'll say
the
Sable.
best wrestler that I wrestled.
Sable's a bit of a diva later on in her career. How was she with you back then?
Oh no, she was normal. She was great. Mark didn't let her out of his sight because he knew there were guys like Shawn Michaels who were trying to get her in the sack. And literally, like, she'd go to the bathroom and he'd be standing outside the door. Like, you never, ever, ever, ever saw her by herself, whether she was doing promos, whether she was in the hotel. They were together 24 hours a day. But no, she was always nice. I mean, we hung out together and stuff like that. But Mark was a great guy, and she was a great girl. Nothing bad. Yeah, then she got in Playboy after that, and everything else, with Brock Lesnar and everything. That was way after me. So.
And you can't blame Mark
cool.
for not getting angry over Brock, right? What was he going to do about that, right?
I know, seriously, right?
They were done by then anyway. Yeah, they were done by then. I don't remember how they broke up or whatever, but they were done by then anyway.
Hey, Tom, use the Patriot character. I think Del Wilkes was the original Patriot. How did you end up getting rights to that character?
So, to take a step back prior to Del Wilkes, Patriot was a well-known character in Memphis. They actually was a tag team. So, like, when people mentioned Del was the first to use it, like in Global and then, like WCW and stuff. So, he got the furthest with it, but there were other regional Patriots. Like, if you look it up, Mike, it's actually fact. Jerry Lawler back in the day created a comic book because he's an artist. He created a Patriot comic book that he published for I don't know how long, for years, I guess. And it was a professional wrestler called the Patriot. And this is years and years and years and years ago. And then he created the Patriot tag team in Memphis. So the story that revolves around the Patriot, back in 1998, we were doing these Army base shows. The promoter's name was Tom Shade out of Missouri, and they were sponsored by, now I'm going to see if you remember this. Remember 1-800-COLLECT?
Yes.
Danielle won't
remember
remember.
that.
She's too young.
Yeah,
She's too young for that. Are you kidding me?
Nah,
No,
she
I just
remembers.
said I'm not that young. I remember 1-800-COLLECT.
Lies.
So 1-800-COLLECT was a mega fortune, company back then. So they were the sponsor. So we were doing Army bases all over the country, and I was out at WWF, and I was wrestling as myself as a
I like that pink on you.
It's always been my color. Me and Brian, you remember Brian Lee?
Yeah.
So Brian Lee, I think he was I the heel? I think I was the heel. So anyway, we had Honky Tonk Man, we had Jake Roberts, we had Brian Knobs, Brian Lee. Now Umaga at the time was wrestling under the gimmick as Sultan, because his brother gave him the Sultan gimmick just to get ring time before he got his WWE or F or whatever. So he was on the shows as the Sultan. So they had Samu was on. Who else? Samu, a young Christopher Daniels, like in his rookie year. Christopher Daniels was on them. So anyway, Honky Tonk Man said to Tom Shady, he said, we need to come up with a character. We're in front of 2,000 soldiers. We need a Patriot gimmick. We need some, red, white, and blue something. So they reached out to Del, and Del said, look, I'm done. He goes, I've had all these surgeries. I have all these torn tendons and ligaments. He goes, I'm completely done. Not even one of those stand in the corner and be a tag team. He says, I'm completely done. So he says, use it. He goes, I had it, I'm done with it. Use the character. He says, you have my approval, whatever you guys need to do. You have my approval to do whatever you want to do with it. So again, they reached out to him. And he, like I said, we were even in his hometown, and he didn't even come out for that one. So anyway, Tom Shade says to me, he goes, just go get, Honky Tonk Man was ID. He said, listen, just go get a mask and some trunks, half-ass it. You could wrestle twice on the same show. Nobody will know any different, and make extra money. So that's what I did. I went and got the mask. And, for me, I got to look good. I want to look. So I got a good outfit.
You do look good.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to do, I've always been about trying to be professional. So get the outfit, get the good mask. Because early on, it wasn't, I had this cheaper material or whatever, wasn't good. So I got good stuff. Anyway, we're in front of.
I think anything you find you make look good.
Try my best. So we're in front of 2,000 soldiers, and I'm wrestling Sultan. And it was so easy, so much fun. I mean, needless to say, the USA and the Sultan, and just a match made in heaven. So I knew Del. We were on tours to Japan together. I knew Del from WWE. So, nothing was ever said for years. And now September was my 25th anniversary that I've been doing this character. People think it's been 5 or 6 years. September's 25 years. And probably for the first, I don't know how many years, Del never said a word. Somebody crawled up his wife's ass, and they start doing, apparently they needed money, so they start doing conventions, start doing blogs. And then all of a sudden, 20 years later, he's bad-mouthing me. I'm like, dude, I'm easy to find. My phone never rang, never got a text, never got cursed out ever face to face. It was always some bullshit on some guy's podcast. So I just went about my business. I said, if it wasn't me, and don't get me wrong, there's been guys in different areas that'll just throw an outfit on a Patreon and call them the Patriot. So the rights to it, Honky Tonk Man had a idea that his lawyer had given him. He said, he was feuding with Vince at the time. He said, go out for $250. You can get a trademark and just take it over if it's not being claimed. So he went out. He got about a half dozen of them. He got the Patriot. He got Brutus Beefcake. He got the Nasty Boys. He got, I think, Jim Duggan, if I'm not mistaken, Jake Roberts. And he owned 6 to 10 copyrights, trademarks, whatever, for years. And then at last, renew it, $250. Renew it. And he told people, he said, I gave Tom the Patriot. Tom's going to be the only guy that does it. If he wanted to be a real prick, and if Del Wilkes wanted to do it, he could be a prick and tell Del, sorry, you can't even do it.
Right.
Sorry. But never came to that. So anyway, my thing was, I never tried to go mainstream with it. It's a little spot show gimmick that we use here in the Northeast, and that's as much as we've ever done with it. I've never got on a plane and traveled anywhere with it. I've never tried to put it on TNA or one of these companies that have television. Strictly a spot show gimmick. I tell people when Dell was a little crabby down the stretch, I said, listen, you want to get in your car and drive up from South Carolina and wrestle in front of 50 people like I'm doing, knock yourself out. That's it. That's simple.
All right, Tom, we've kept you a long time. I want to hit you with Daniella's final question. It used to be called Pharaoh's final question, but now it's Daniella's final question. I have no idea what she's going to ask you. It's unscripted. I'm sure it's something that will make you feel uncomfortable, though. That's for sure.
Why do you always feel like I make people feel uncomfortable?
Good. That's good.
Out of all the female wrestlers you have ever encountered or wrestled with, who would you pick to have been your love interest?
Oof, nice.
That's a good question because
that's a good question.
The ones in WC. So I always loved Kim Page. I loved her in WCW. She was definitely the best. Always loved Marlena in WWE. There wasn't a lot there when I was there. They all came kind of after I was done. So, like, I don't know the younger generation.
Okay, we'll make it a little fair, too. Even if you want to choose present day, even if it wasn't someone you've actually worked with or encountered, but present day,
like
could be NXT,
like besides you,
ACW, anyone.
Like beside you.
Oh, well, look out.
Besides
I'm
you.
never a wrestler. I only date them.
You know what?
Okay.
Wahoo's wife takes my other one partner, and now fucking Tom Brandi taking my other. I'm a partner.
I'm just saying, I can't wait for training camp in March. I'm going to be counting down training camp for March.
No, so I gotta go with the ones I was around because now, like when you look at like the ones that were on TV, even the ones like Trish Stratus was after me. Like, I'll give you an example. Mickie James, I knew her from when she was just starting out. So I don't look at her the same way. And girls like Lita, I knew when she first started out. So I don't look at her the same way. I knew them when they were just indie girls. Same with Sunny. I knew Sunny when she was sitting in the front row and Chris Candido was like in his first year of wrestling and she was there with him. So like and Sunny was the hottest thing when I was in WWE. She was beyond on fire. This is right before, kind of like before Sable a little bit. She was absolutely on fire. But I never looked at her. I was never attracted to her. Just because of how I knew her from all those years on the indies.
Are you trying to say, Tom, the indies were the same as when she moved up the ranks? She was the same type of person?
Who's that? Tammy?
Yeah.
I just looked at her different. It's almost like a little sister type. Never looked at her. I was never attracted to her just because she was always with Chris and now she was starting to get around and it was just like I couldn't have had any less interest.
She's starting to get around.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't have had any less interest. But, again, she doesn't come into play. Marlena always did it for me. Kim Page always did it for me. So, I'm trying to think who else.
By the way, Terry.
You're making a roster.
Tom, Terry was in studio a couple of weeks ago. She's a pretty impressive person. I really liked her a lot.
Whose side are you on?
Oh, great person. No, there's another. You can never say a bad word about her. She always was great. Always was great. Her, never had a problem with any of them. Like even China, like I was there the first day that China came in, right? And she was sitting at the gorilla position. Nobody knew who the hell she was. They're like, who is this freak? Who is this? Like we all thought she was a dude. She had those features, right? She had those like all these masculine features. Like they made her look more feminine. But when she came in, I mean, all that growth hormone she was on, she looked like a dude. And everybody's like, they're like, and that's when she looked good. Like when she got implants and they made her, they trimmed down her jawbone. They made her look more feminine. And then she got in Playboy. She looked great.
Yeah.
But when she started, like this is before they hired her. I was there for her tryout. We were in Florida. This was like when she just came to meet everybody. And we're like, who is that? She was a freak. I mean, we would have bet it was a guy. I would have bet you it was a dude. Absolutely.
Is that a dude?
Dude looks like a lady.
Uh-oh,
Dude
look out.
looks like a lady. Every bit of it. Every
All
bit
right.
of it. No, but she was always cool. We always got along. She couldn't have been any nicer. Like she had that voice. Remember her voice?
It was
She had a
very
little bit of a
high-pitched.
lisp. Yeah, like
He
she
was
had
like,
a
"Where's
little
high
bit of a
pitch?"
lisp. She was always nice.
All right, Tom. I want to thank you again. Fantastic. Thank you for taking the time
Thank
out.
you,
I am sorry
husband.
about the fills, my friend.
Absolutely. What a pleasure.
Have a great
Mike, I'm going to
weekend.
send you something for Danielle.
You got it, my friend. Or you could just contact her directly.
You can contact me personally, baby. You don't need to go through him.
All right.
I'm just a pawn in this game, Tom. A pawn in
I'm
I'm
this
gonna
gonna
I'm
game.
gonna
slide in your DM.
I'm going to send her this video.
Oh,
You know,
what kind
as
of video?
Daniela gets more used to this interview style, I'm just going to turn on the cameras and go home and just let her have at it.
Now, she's
I don't
an-
know. Well,
I didn't
we'll
know.
be kicked
I didn't
off
know.
air real
Obviously,
quick.
I didn't do anything with Farrow, but obviously she's an asset to the show.
She is certainly, or she has two assets for the show. One, could be that too. However we
Wait,
want to say it.
let me ask. Last question.
Sure.
How did you get involved in the show?
How did Daniela?
Yeah.
Go ahead, kid. Might as well break it down.
So I swore I was only going to do one interview about my breakup with Matt Riddle. And out of all the people that reached out to me, the conversation that I had with Mike made me feel the most comfortable. And like, that's how it all started. He did my interview on my relationship with Matt Riddle.
Cool. How long ago was that?
Ooh, last year? No. Oh my God, almost like 2 years.
Is it 2 years?
Two-
Yeah, it could be.
Almost
Could
a
be.
year and a half.
How long?
We even broke up.
How long have you been doing the show for?
Oh,
5 weeks, maybe.
yeah, 5 or 6 weeks.
Oh, that's cool.
She's
Cool.
doing well. She's doing well.
Cool.
I mean, Farrow's missed. Farrow's great, but this kid's got talent.
I can't do it. I would never want someone to try to fill my shoes, and I will never try to fill anyone else's shoes. He has his awesome, unique style, and then I'm just that random clusterfuck that they like to throw in.
Or it works.
Thanks,
It
Tom.
works.
It does. It
Mike,
really does.
I'm sure
But I gotta
Mitch
stop
will
hitting
be
on
very
guys
happy.
like you.
Listen,
That's right.
Mitch will call me tomorrow, critique me, tell me what I did wrong and right, and I get it every week. So it's like
What's he gonna say? Give me an example.
he's gonna go, man, you got to stop with that dialogue in the beginning and get right to the guest because everybody just wants to hear the guest. And I'm like, Mitch, every show starts with a dialogue, right? It's like get the guest warmed up, kind of get a feeling what the hosts are about, be a little different. And then Mitch
Some of our
just
guests get shocked, though. They're like, oh my God, the shit that I was just listening to you guys talk about.
But it is hard to argue with Mitch because he is a very famous pitchman, right? So he does
he's-
know his
he's-
stuff.
He's the most famous pitch man.
Absolutely. And a damn good guy, too.
Yes.
All right,
He's been
Tom.
doing it
God
for a long
bless.
time.
Thank you again.
Ooh,
Take
almost
care,
had a
guys.
bullet. Night, babe.
Wow. So what do you think, D?
I'm waiting for March.
Great guy. Great guy.
I gotta wait for that training camp. Meet my future ex-husband.
So before we go, I want to say kudos for you. Week by week, you get better and better. Listen, no matter whatever happens with this show, you're a natural. You should always continue this on. You have it, kid. I'm just telling you. I know talent, and you got the talent.
I appreciate it.
Have a great
I gotta
night.
figure out what I'm gonna. I think I might need to step out tonight with this very costume on.
I
I'm feeling
think
like,
you should. I definitely think you
I feel
should.
like Olivia Newton-John meets like a festival child. Like
I want to thank Tom Brandi, incredible wrestler, incredible human being. Every time I meet these guys, they just blow me away. I want to just give some shout outs to the family. Lately, we haven't been doing it Davio Yardate, Roy, Jay Will, Luce, the man, Matthew Holland, Jason Morning, RJ Hudson, Phil DeCesare, former champion of the previous show, the First Lady of Professional Wrestling, Maria Davis, the player, Benny Scala, Jay Will. Who else have I got in the house? Hayes Machine, good to see you. I think I said Roy. I think I got almost everybody. If I didn't get everybody, I love you all. I want to thank ESO for moderating the page and keeping people off. I think that will be the new way I'll go. And Daniela, I want to thank you. And would you like to do this next week?
Duh. I don't know if anyone can top Tom, though. Tom.
I won't let you down. Send us out,
Tom
Daniela.
Bye, guys. See you next week.